Welcome back to the Prosperity Playbook. I am back here with my special guest, Adam Wright, again today. If you missed the episode last week, go back and watch that one. We talked about the psychology of sales and people buying things and all kinds of just cool psychology things in there. And today we are going to talk about ADHD and how that affects us as adults working. And how maybe I'm gonna try to convince him that it's a superpower and not something that's maybe holding him back. So I know that there's a lot of people out there that struggle with this exact same thing, and I think there's less of like a negative stigma around it than there used to be. But I want to talk about all of those things. So let's start off by give me a story, give me an example of how your ADHD has maybe sabotaged you in your work environment.
Well, the most recent one is last night. I wanted to do a little bit of research for some talking points of this episode.
Okay.
And I opened the very first link and started reading it. And I got a half paragraph through and immediately found myself on a different website looking at something completely different and like laughed out loud to myself. And I was like, oh, you're about to talk about ADHD and you couldn't even get through the first paragraph without finding literally anything else to read about. And I mean, that's probably my most recent example. There are myriad examples.
Well, and to be fair, the internet is meant to do that to
Absolutely.
you. Like that is its job, is to keep you in the rabbit hole and keep you on platform. So it's only partially your fault on that one. But can you think of an example where maybe it's helped you? And if not, that's okay.
I mean, I can't think of oneness. I mean, I was the kid in high school and in college who would like wait until the very last minute and then get the A+ and drive all of my friends crazy. And I would say that might be like, I only do my best work when my brain finally decides to lock in on it.
Okay.
And is that great? No. But when I can do my best work, you know, when I have parameters, when there's that doesn't always have to be last minute, but there's certainly a way for me to bracket my way into success and then have the confidence that I can, you know, get her done.
I actually feel you may convince me that I have ADHD by the end of this because I am the same way. I am a procrastinator. I like that pressure of the deadline, of knowing when I have to get it done. It feels weird to like half-ass it a little bit at a time along the way. I want to dive in and get it done one thing at a time. But I think one of the reasons this topic comes up for me, I'm in a mastermind group. You guys have heard me talk about this a lot of times. And on stage last year, Neil Dingra, who is the head of the group, kind of slipped up and he talked about his ADHD. And after he was on stage, half the room of 100 people went up to him and were like, dude, I have the same thing. Like, I fought this my whole life. And so then when he was on for the next segment, he was like, okay, raise your hand if you are in this room and you have ADHD. It was over 3/4 of the room.
Sure.
And this is a room full of like extremely successful people, mostly mortgage and real estate. But it was really, really interesting to see how many of them had this same type of a situation. And we'll talk about that more down the road as far as like how this kind of does lend itself to being an entrepreneur. But I thought it was, you know, he kind of talked about how when he was in school, he struggled with grades, he struggled with focus. And now he's learned how to harness this into his superpower because he can hyper focus on things. But let's just get some of the myths out there. Let's talk about what ADHD actually is and what it's not. So for a lot of people, there's a fundamental, I think, just misunderstanding. Mm-hmm. Or maybe you're somebody that has some of these symptoms, but you haven't gone to a doctor, you haven't been diagnosed, and you're just like, man, I'm lazy, I'm not disciplined, I can't focus. And I think my brother was one of them that when he was a kid, it just wasn't very well known. It wasn't diagnosed. And he was just kind of like that problem child because he was always in trouble. He couldn't focus on things. And it kind of drove my mom crazy because he wanted to go down a different path than everybody else. And there was no solutions for that. The teachers weren't used to dealing with that, or they didn't have ways to deal with it. So I think people, if they were kind of stigmatized younger, now they're stuck with that as an adult.
Yeah.
Is that a similar experience for you?
I mean, my teachers definitely called it out. I think I was able to, I don't know. I didn't, I'll tell the story that like my kindergarten, first grade, I don't exactly remember what grade it was, but my notes from my teacher to my to my mom has trouble focusing. My mom got a phone call one day because we had watched Mork and Mindy the night before. Do you remember that TV show?
Yeah.
For those of you who don't, Mork and Mindy was a great sitcom that starred Robin Williams. He was an alien who came to the planet to Earth and had to act normal, and they were trying to not keep him an alien. He thought when he first got here that chairs were meant to be sat in upside down. So the first thing I do the next morning at school after watch Mork and Mindy is sit upside down in my chair, feet up, head back, and my mom got a phone call over my refusal to like sit anywhere else. And that's, it could be attributed to young, have a good time, kids, but also like there was definitely a component to that of, I'm not going to sit at my desk and learn how you want me to learn. I'm definitely going to try and do things on a different level.
Well, I think that that's a good thing. And I think our schools are getting better about that. And we can talk more about that in a little bit, but it's ADHD brains. It's not that they can't focus. It's that they can't control when and where they focus. So they do focus, but they want to focus on things that are interesting or urgent or challenging. And I think that is why it can be a superpower, because those of us with just regular focusing brains, like we kind of are okay with the status quo. We kind of just, set our plan and we go with it and stick within the lines with our coloring maybe a little bit. And I think that's why entrepreneurs tend to be, probably one of the most famous entrepreneurs that has ADHD is Richard Branson.
Yeah.
Billionaire, super well known, has created tons of companies, done things differently. And I think that is the key. Differentiation is where the dollars are made. If you can be different than what everybody else is already doing.
Yeah, and there has to be, with any good team or I think with a team, like there has to be at least one of you.
Well, that's a good point.
If you've got 5, draw within the lines people, you're going to get, sure, you might have a very efficient team. And I'm sure there's industries where that's a good thing. But I tend to be on like more the marketing, creativity side of things. And there better be 1 or 2 of you that's going to like stir the pot up or push people in different directions. I think that's really important. I
love that you said that, because I actually do. I have that on my team, and I didn't even realize that was a superpower of my team. But Ryan on my team, he a lot of times is like almost like bigger, better deal guy. Like he's awesome, but he wants to, like, I think he gets bored with just his normal, like, here, run this pre-approval application. But if there is something that comes up, like there's a challenge or we end up with a problem on a loan and we have to shift gears and find a new program for him or find a new investor, that is his best life. And he will figure out how to do that. And I like that challenge too. I like the puzzle of it, but that he will drop whatever he's doing and go straight to that, because, and even though that is not his role, we've kind of made it his role because he would just like jump in and actually be able to solve the problems. And he takes a lot of pride in being able to think outside the box, find a solution that maybe nobody else came up with.
Well, I love that. And thank you personally for seeing that in somebody and encouraging and or like directing them that way. Because like our teachers that didn't know how to deal with it and our bosses that don't know how to deal with it. That can be a really like, shameful sort of, alienating place. And there's a lot of like self-talk that gets really negative about that really quick. Like, why can't I just sit and do the things that they need me to do?
That makes sense.
I'm been out on the end of that in so many times. And I do have a lot of shame about that in roles where I've, okay, my next job, I'm just going to get something where I can just like pull the lever. I'm just going to do it and I'm just going to be happy with it. And I'm just going to, cause when I'm given the room to like sort of go out and do other things, then Ryan, I'll go find something out of my job description to be great at. And that's not what they're paying me for. That's not what they're hiring me for. And come on, just pull the lever. And I'm I've realized, and I'm reminding myself daily, I'm not capable of that.
Well, so let's dive into that a little bit deeper and talk about, there are some real struggles with this. Like, we're going to talk about why it's amazing, but there are things that you have to deal with on a day-to-day basis that are a challenge. And like your brain, I think they call it time blindness. And so you end up with this now and not now. and making like the deadlines kind of get abstract. So I think it's kind of what you talked about of it turns into procrastination around it has to be the very last second. There's no like real budgeting of that time. It's just now it's urgent. Once it becomes urgent, now it's interesting. And so now my brain will actually focus on it.
Yeah.
And I think starting new tasks, or starting something that you just know has to be done, maybe something that's super mundane and not interesting, but like has to be a part of your daily work. Or even, you know, just forgetting things. Is that something that resonates with you? You just like forgetting like, oh man, I forgot about that appointment, or I forgot that I told that client I would do that, or do you have to build systems for that?
Absolutely. And I mean, then you add, you know, not just job, but you had family, and I have a 4-year-old. So like talk about, you know, think about something that I need to do and try and hang on to that little thought in my brain while I'm managing this other chaos.
Yeah.
And then sometimes you can't stop to write it down.
Right.
You know, like if it's bedtime and you're trying, you know, there's no time to write it down. And it might be something important. It might be something I really wanted to keep, and it's just gone. I try and do that. There's also the, if I build a system, I will get thoroughly engaged in building the system that I think will keep this from happening. And then once the system's in place, completely lose interest in it.
This is so Ryan. So he built us this, it's a OneNote page, and it's like where we keep all of our notes for all of the files, but he doesn't use it. I'm like, bro, you built this, you got to use it. You're helping me understand so much.
That is, I mean, if you just put that at the top of the symptom list, like I will build something to keep myself from doing that and then lose. Yeah, this happened in the last week. Like I am the sole employee of my company, and so I need to keep track of everything. And I spent a lot of time and felt very proud in this thing I built. And then I looked at it, and it was so much that I could feel my eyes go blurry. Like the detail of it was like the detail I need to do great at it went, and it just like grayed out in front of my face.
Well, so this is kind of this hyper-focus thing. So there's a little bit of a dark side of that. You can get logged into the wrong thing for hours. So you probably spent hours developing the thing that you're now not going to use.
Yeah, great at that.
Perfect. Well, I think that, you know, or even just like what you were talking about, you can get sucked into the vortex of the phone or of researching something, or I don't know, even just in a conversation. You know, you could meet up to talk to somebody and like, here's the goal. And then we end up talking about something completely different.
Great at that.
Yeah, but sometimes everything happens for a reason too. What's the hardest part of that for you? What's the thing that costs you the most?
I mean, the things that timeliness for sure. Setting, like if I give somebody an expectation, I'll give an example. I've got a potential client. This is a prospect at this point, and they've given me a fantastic opportunity to be the vendor for things that they already get.
Okay.
So there's no creativity in that for me. There's nothing new, nothing shiny. They just want me to give them a presentation and pricing of the things they already get, but they want to get it through me. That's easy. That's profitable. I should be thrilled by that. That is what's going to make my business successful. And I'm like really having to force myself to create that for them. And that's so like that.
Well, you know, that's your first hire then, right? Like, you know, that's what the person's going to do when you're ready for that first hire.
It might be my wife.
I wondered.
I told her last night she was hired. And she is the opposite brain of mine. She's an operating room nurse. That is not a place for Adam to be at all. You know, hey doc, what if we tied that ligament back together? I have a different idea.
Yeah.
How about the playlist that's on I'm going to go work on the playlist and not hand you sutures or whatever that like. So she's a great balance to me in that, on that front. So maybe she can help me out.
I love that.
In that.
Well, that's a good point, because there are careers that probably like maybe ADHD isn't the best fit for, but let's talk about why it is a natural fit with entrepreneurship. And I think when I say entrepreneurship, that I think means being a salesperson too, because even if you're a W-2 as a salesperson, you are essentially running your own business because you make $0 if you don't go and sell things. So you like to say that all jobs are sales.
I do.
So tell me about that.
Oh, well, I guess my that's something I used in sales training. And something I really like. People always say, you're a salesperson. I could never be a salesperson. My wife says this to me all the time. I could never do what you do. I could never be a salesperson. But what she does is go and see a patient that's pre-surgical and say, here's what's going to happen. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. I'm going to wheel you into the room. You're going to go under, you're going to come out. I'm going to be the first face that you see. She is selling trust.
Yeah, absolutely.
100% selling. Come along with me for this journey. I am going to buy into what I am telling you, what I'm telling you is going to be the thing that happened. That's a sales job.
Yeah.
So I like to say, every job is a sales job. You're always trying to get people to come along the ride for you. I think the entrepreneurial side of, or why ADHD people might tend to jump into entrepreneurial ventures is that they get to like be their own manager. And they get to meet their own expectations. And they also, if you go and left turn for 3 hours, you're not going to get fired over it. You are is that working against yourself? Yeah, absolutely. But at least you're making the choice to work against yourself.
Yeah. You still have to figure out how to manage that so that you do make money at some point, right?
Yeah. But nobody's going to fire you.
Exactly.
You're going to have to fire yourself and go get a job that, but like that's a different ego trip than, I also think that it's hard to find, if you're ADHD person, ADD person, it's hard to find a good manager.
Yeah.
That has that patience with you or is willing to do that work with you or direct you in the places like you direct Ryan, without getting frustrated at you, this comes up a ton in sales. Go to Indeed, any of you that are listening, go to Indeed and type in sales as the job you're looking for. And the first bullet points will say lone wolf, entrepreneurial minded, own your own book of business, self-starter, doesn't require autonomous. All those buzzwords will be right at the top. That is not a great place for an ADHD person to be. Please have that singular focus. I'm sorry. That's not an option. Self-start. No, you need to, I think that's a high bar to set for any human being. People need human interaction. You can't just be a lone wolf all the time. But that's a really hard thing to manage. You send somebody out in the world alone and want them to keep the wheels turning. That's a hard thing to manage.
Well, it is. When I was a baby loan officer, I worked for a company called First Horizon, and there was another that was even a bigger baby loan officer than me. He's fresh out of college, and we, as a loan officer, we don't have set hours. Like, we were working for a mortgage company. You come and go as you please. And this guy, his name was Scott, he would come in at like 10 o'clock, sit at his desk for a couple hours, and then he'd go to lunch and then go golf the rest of the day. And like, that's just what he did because nobody told him he had to sit at his desk. And he thought this is the coolest job ever. And he closed 0 loans. And so therefore he got fired fairly quickly. Well, then same guy goes to work for what was, it's now First Security Bank. I don't remember what it was. Big Sky Western Bank at the time. And they're like, you wear a suit and tie and you sit at this desk from 8 to 5 and you close loans. And he was very successful at that point.
Oh, I thought you were going to go the other direction.
No, he needed somebody to tell him, this is the parameters of what you're doing. And you need to be here. And he thrived in that environment. So I think you have to know which one you are.
Sure.
Are you the one that wants the flexibility and can do that and can organize your own brain and your own schedule and treat it like a job? We just had, last week we had a guest who is a network marketer, and she was talking, and that was one of the things we talked about, is people assume that a network marketing job is, they're just not going to have to work very hard. But the only people that make it actually truly successful, make like business like income, are the ones that treat it like a job that you go to from 8 to 5, or that you have set hours every day and you make it work. And I feel that way whether you're an entrepreneur or you're a salesperson, like you have to have some sort of accountability to a schedule around what you do. Yeah. Or it's probably not going to work out.
I think that's one of the bigger lessons that I learned. And it wasn't all that long ago, in the last decade, not that long ago, but if I think this hit everybody when COVID hit and everybody worked from home,
Mm-hmm.
but I already knew it. I was already like ahead of the game, which was get up in the morning, take a shower, and put real clothes on. Don't if your job was a suit or your job was a suit and a shirt and tie or whatever that is. I never worked in that kind of business, so I didn't do it. But I wake up and I at least put clothes on that I would go to work in, and not be in my PJs all day, so that I could shift. Like,
I know a lot of people that do that. I am not that person. I'm like happy as a clam to stay in my sweatpants all day long.
and if you can do it, do it. Like, absolutely. I'm jealous that I can't.
But it is, you're right. There's no line of where work stops and starts for me. And so, I like wander out of my bedroom and into the office or onto the couch. And then it's like, I have a hard time sometimes starting that day because there hasn't been that anchor of, okay, go. And so maybe that's something I need to do different. I'm just always like, I don't have to figure out what to wear. I don't have to brush my hair. I'm just going.
Well, if you're capable of doing that, then by all means. I think maybe that what I'm is tied to one of those like structures of making it your superpower, of like working in the parameters that you need to work on, or enabling yourself to, like, I need that mental shift.
Yeah. I saw a study one time, and I think it was commercial real estate brokers in New York City, and they studied them over a period of time, and some of them like didn't dress up and some of them like dressed to the nines. And the ones that were dressed up, they sold, I guess is what I should say, the people that were not dressed up. And the kicker at the end of the study was that they only worked over the phone.
Oh.
And so I think there is something to that. And it's maybe something that I need to shift, because it is something I've been struggling with lately, is having that motivation, finding my fire in the morning and really like getting to it. So this might be something I'm going to actually try, is like, okay, get dressed like I was going to go meet a client and make it like a hard start.
Yeah.
Like something to anchor that, okay, your workday starts now. This isn't time for you to get lost in Instagram or play with the dog.
I've seen the dark side of this. Like I had it wasn't a work from home job, but it was a traveling sales job. So I was required to be in the office like 3 days a month.
Okay.
This is going to sound unrelated, but I have seen every episode of Law and Order SVU. And your laugh tells me you know the connection. On the couch, laptop here, reruns on, because you can turn on any channel on the TV at one point or another in the day. There's an episode of Law and Order SVU on somewhere at some point. And it just played while I sat there and worked. I paid attention to both things, never fully. I didn't do my best job at either one of those. So that's for me, is like, don't sit on the couch with your laptop. I don't work on my couch with my laptop on my lap. I go sit at my desk. And that's one of the things that I just like, I have to do. I had a job that was only a 5-minute commute. It wasn't enough.
Didn't give you enough time to shift your brain over. Interesting.
Because I would get home from that. I would get home and I would work until 10 o'clock. But when I do have a 30-minute commute, I live in Livingston, so when I have to drive to Bozeman or Belgrade, then I have the half hour or whatever to go switch it on and off. If I work in Livingston and go home in Livingston, I work like 70 hours a week.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's keep talking about kind of how this can be a superpower for our entrepreneurial people. So we talked about hyperfocus a little bit, and basically it's like when they lock in on something that they love, they can outwork and outthink pretty much anybody out there. And that's my friend Neil. Like, he absolutely gets hyper focused on this event he's going to do or this new thing, and it's just like nothing else can come in until that gets done, and he's a master implementer because of that. But I also know he has a team around him that like has to kind of handle some of those other things because he gets so hyper focused on that. I think he also has a higher risk tolerance than most people. I think there's that, like, they thrive on that risky behavior a little bit. Do you resonate with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you see my eyes light up?
Yeah, I mean, they kind of a little more impulsive, maybe, I guess is what I would say. So they're not so worried about the future consequences. It's just like, what do you need to start a company? Like, let's just go. Let's just make this happen and just kind of jump in. And then I think the ideas. I think the creative ideas, it's a matter of not being the one that's inside the box. It's something new, something different. Instead of like, this is the way we've always done it. It's why. Like, isn't there a better way?
Yeah.
And then I think crisis is so. Like I said, Ryan, if there's a loan falling apart for some reason, like he is the king at jumping in, and he will bird dog that thing till he's figured it out. We actually closed a loan today, that actually tomorrow, that had a weird situation. The client told the appraiser that their house was a working farm. Well, it's not. It's 20 acres, and they like bale a little bit of the grass so that it's not a fire hazard. Well, the appraiser put in it was a working farm. Well, we're residential loan officers. We don't do loans on farms. Anyway, it goes to Bank of America, who's the second mortgage investor, and they're like, we don't lend on farms. And it all kind of went down while I was on vacation, and I didn't see the appraisal come through, and it got sent up, and we should have just had it fixed ahead of time. But now we've got this problem, and that investor isn't doing it. Like, Ryan literally got our company to find a new second mortgage investor that we didn't already have on board.
Oh, wow.
And they like made it happen. He got everything done. He got all the exceptions approved. He made everything happen and figured out how to do it without an appraisal so we could throw that one away. And like, it's closing tomorrow. And he worked his butt off and convinced people that this is the path that we were going to take. Yeah. And I mean, it's a Christmas miracle that it's closing, but
that's fully that kicking in. What was it? Crisis?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I've always, I feel the most calm when things are going sideways.
Yeah.
Okay. Laser. Okay. This has got this. This is going to sound unrelated, but when I've gone like, on long backpacking trips or hiking, and I've gotten like, I've been like cliffed out on a hike, or I'm not going to make it back before dark, and I'm in barren mountain lion country, I've never felt more zen.
Interesting.
Because it's like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? Food, water, shelter, warmth. This is all you have to focus on is getting out of here alive. Like it's, and I not quite as extreme in a work situation, but I get the, okay, you better do this or you're in trouble. Okay. Laser focus.
I love it. Now that I think about that, my little brother, he was always good in a crisis. I remember when I was in high school, I grew up on a farm. We were working cows, and I got hit in the face by a metal bar, and it like knocked me down, and there was blood everywhere. And my stepdad was like, "Oh my God." And my mom was like, "We're going to the hospital." And my brother just very calmly just like took off his shirt, held it up to my face. Like, he was just super calm, and everybody else was like losing their mind because I'm a girl and I had a hole in my face.
Yeah. And, but he got zen.
He was totally fine. It was probably when he was the most focused and the most like, that's when you could count on him.
Yeah. I feel that deeply. This is a true story. Like 2 weeks ago, I came around a corner on 90 and there was a dog running down the oncoming traffic. I pulled over. I realize now saying this, I pulled over. I got out of my car. I went down as far as I could, whistled at that dog to come over. The owner is down running, and I saved that dog at the risk. I'm not trying to pat myself on the back here, but that was like one of those locked in. Okay, I'm going just like
getting the dog.
I'm not thinking of future consequences. I'm not thinking about how this is probably the dumbest thing you could do.
Well, you were hyper focused and had a high risk tolerance, and were in a crisis.
Absolutely. And I was like, there was never a question of what I was about to do in my mind. I just went into Superman mode.
Oh, well, I'm sure you are Superman to that dog owner.
Not trying to pat myself on the back, but it was just,
you should.
Yeah.
Got to celebrate the little wins sometimes too.
I'm glad that dog made it home.
Yeah. Nobody wanted to see the alternative to that.
No.
Okay. So that's a good example of how your ADHD is working for you.
100%.
So any other examples that you want to share about that where it has been a good thing for you?
A good thing. I mean, if I could get paid to organize my Google Photos, like I would be. If I got paid to go through duplicates and be like, oh, there's one. Like I could do that for hours. When
Hilarious.
I was in college, this is pre metadata, it's pre everything. I used to, when you could load your CD onto your computer and get it onto your iPod, if my CD didn't name the song, I would go type them in. And I'd spend like hours making sure that everything was named, the track listing was correct. Like that's when I was really like, okay, Adam, this is maybe an indication. Another one recently, this is not how it turned into a superpower at all, but I was talking to a therapist, not mine, but a person that I was just casually chatting with. And we were laughing about things I didn't take the time to learn in school about like fractions and And I was trying to build something like a carpenter, and I didn't bother measuring down to like the 1/8 and 16ths of an inch. Like I just always got that part wrong. And she's like, "You're ADD, aren't you?" And I was like, well, how would that have anything to do with it? And she goes, "Because you can't be bothered to like take the time to learn the 1/8 and the 16ths. You stop at the quarter and you just measure." And I'm like, "Is that a thing?" She's like, "Yeah, no, that's like a absolute indicator." And I was like,
Really?
wow, I never thought of that.
That is super interesting. I love it. Well, I think the stigma is changing. We alluded to that a little bit earlier, but I think there is still some shame, around
course,
that.
yeah.
Again, maybe from when kids were little, but sometimes the biggest barrier for people that have ADHD isn't their brain itself. It's what they believe about their brain. I think a lot of people think that there's something that they have to fix, or they're not living up to their potential, or they're broken. And that's not really the case. I think it's more about your brain just works differently, and you have to kind of acknowledge it and embrace it. There's nothing to fix. It doesn't mean that you're doomed to fail for the rest of your life. You just have to put yourself in the right rooms and in the right jobs. And so for you, like you said, you're not going to fire yourself, but you are someday. You're going to fire yourself from doing bids, and you're going to do just the creative part and the sales part, and you're going to let somebody do the back end of that part that that is not your right fit, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's taken me a long time to arrive at that. But to shift from shame or negative self-talk to just ask for help.
Yeah.
Or acquire help, or, Dirty Harry, a man has got to know his limitations. Be okay with them. Be okay that you're not going to get that done. And even if you do, you're not going to do it at the highest quality or the quality your client expects from you. So get help. And we were laughing about AI earlier, but like why, given how hard it is for me to focus on things I don't want to do, wouldn't I just ask AI for help? Like I just started doing this in the last 2 weeks, where I was like, build this for me.
Yeah.
And you just saved yourself 4 hours, Adam.
Totally.
Like, why would you actually might have saved yourself 4 months of telling yourself you're going to do it and never getting and avoiding it. You saved yourself avoidance.
Yeah. Well, I think that is true, but I think it goes back to change. We were talking about that on the last episode, that kind of that psychology around making a change in sales, and that you're changing from the way you've always done things to a new way of doing things, which is trusting AI to do it. And, it definitely can be a game changer and get rid of some of those things that I would have hyper obsessed over, like wording around a Instagram post, or the way to craft a certain, like we're doing a presentation in a couple of weeks for a women's group, and they sent me this questionnaire, and it was like all these random questions. And I just told Claude, I'm like, here's what I'm doing the thing on. And Claude already knows me because I've already taught it to research me. But I was like, this is my topic, and here's the questions that it's giving me. Give me the answers for the questions. And it was just like, boom. And I would have spent hours probably trying to make sure that those things were perfect. And it took me 10 minutes to knock that thing out and move on with my day. And I was so glad that I was trusting it to do that.
It's definitely a hump I had to get over.
Yeah.
But and this is why I fought this is so, there's some trust issues, and there's, also the old man shakes fist at clouds things. I'm like, I knew I had to learn Excel.
Right.
Why do you guys get to have it easier?
Right.
But I used to have like a Post-it on the bottom of my monitor that said the only thing you can't do is nothing. And it was just me get going. Like, don't sit here and stare at the blinking cursor. Don't freeze because you don't know where to start. Just do something and get the ball rolling. And that's where AI has actually come into a lot of help for me. It was like, I don't know where to start, whether I'm writing something. So just give me write this for me, and then I will edit everything about it. But like, it's not a blank page with a blinking cursor.
Absolutely. I'm the exact same way. And if it does write something for me, then I'll be like, nope, that's too long, or that's too short, or I don't like that. Give me it in a different, make it sound like me, whatever, kind of. I've learned to get it. The best thing that I've learned for a prompt with AI is I'll tell it what I want, but then I'll say, ask me 3 questions before you start. And then it will ask questions, and I can answer those, and then I'll get better answers. The more questions you make it ask you, the more it can dial into what you want. and it really can make a big difference. So
Yeah.
kind of a squirrel topic.
Well, I'm using it as we said we got to set up systems to deal with ADHD and the roadblocks to being able to work my best work.
Yeah.
If I can get rid of that, like where to start roadblock with that thing helping me.
Yeah.
I've always said I work best in teams.
Yeah.
I need people around me to like bounce ideas off of. Well, if I'm a solo, I'm the employer, I'm the head CEO and janitor of my own company.
Right.
Well, now I do have something to get started with. Hey, what do you think? Can you get me started? Literally, you can tell it to get started on it. And it'll help
a great
you.
use of it. I feel that too, though. I have to have, if I have too much to do, I kind of freeze and I get in this overwhelmed state and I don't know what to do. So I start every day with like my list of all of the things. I highlight the things I have to get done today. And then I literally just go back through and number them at the beginning of the day. Because that way, whenever I check one off the list, I just go to whatever the next number is. Because otherwise, I'll sit there and go, well, which one is more important? And then I'll probably end up on Facebook.
Yeah, totally. That's a great strategy. Numbering them, I think, is brilliant. I've done that before. Eisenhower matrix is a great one.
What's that?
You make a quadrant on a page.
Okay.
And you've got
urgent
and important. Urgent, not important. Important but not urgent, and then neither important nor urgent. And you build yourself out there, and then the not important and not urgent, you just don't do anything of that. You throw those things right into the garbage.
Delegate them.
Or delegate them. That's worked for me a little bit. The other thing that I do with the number system is that if it's like, number 2, make a phone call to somebody, they don't answer, I leave a voicemail, I'm waiting for them to call me back. I can't check that off. But instead of leaving it there like as a weight on my shoulders, I draw a circle.
Yeah, exactly.
So then,
somewhat satisfying.
It's somewhat satisfying. And then when they do call back and I get it, then you get an X in the circle. But just like to, trick your.
I like that. And the Eisenhower squares thing, I have done that in the past, and what I found is that my important but non-urgent things would never get done because my job is so much like hurry up. And so what I started doing, I figured out that like my early mornings were my most productive because my phone isn't going off yet. I don't even have a lot of emails to deal with yet. And so I would time block 2 days a week where I would block out an hour, hour and a half, whatever I thought I needed. And that's when I would work on the important non-urgent things, meaning that's when I would implement something new in my business or take steps towards it anyway. And it worked super well. It was the only time I ever worked on those things. And then, life got in the way and I don't do that anymore. But it worked great for a while. Yeah.
And that's interesting because you can then block out your schedule. Like I'm not looking at my phone or my email from this time because this is when I'm going to do these other things.
Yeah.
The problem with the Eisenhower matrix and ADHD is that everything is urgent and important.
Interesting.
So I can't, I don't use it, even though it seems like the brilliant solution to me, is because I just put everything in that quadrant and panic all the same.
Well, and if everything's in that quadrant, then nothing's in that quadrant.
Yeah,
everything can't be urgent.
Yep.
So let's keep talking about ways that we deal with this. And I want to talk briefly about medication because I know it's kind of a controversial topic. And I think there's probably a happy medium in there somewhere because I've seen people that are way over medicated. And I've seen people that probably really could benefit from some medication. And I have quite a few friends that swear by their medication because it gives them more control over what they can focus on.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on it?
I know it could help me.
Yeah.
I haven't taken anything for it in 15 years. And I'm sure it's gotten better. I'm sure it's gotten more balanced. I'm sure huge steps have been made. It did not do me any real great things. I have a very addictive personality. I've been sober for 8 years because I've had to be. Thank you. And so the idea of doing anything that I know societally people are laughing about abusing, it's in rap songs and it's people are talking about snorting Adderall as a thing, and people that don't need it take it. That's a huge red flag to me that somebody's doing that for fun and I'm supposed to do it not for fun. I'm supposed to do it because I need it. Do I trust myself to not also find out what the fun part is? Like that's a real for me.
Well, for Adderall, I mean, definitely, I know a lot of people that have done that. I'll admit that I have tried that before, because the way that it was sold to me was like, hey, you just will stay up all night long. Which is 100% true. Like you do not get tired, and,
it is an amphetamine.
You don't want to eat. Like you're just going all night. But the reason that I personally did not like that was because then I could never go to sleep and my heart would race. And I was just like, this isn't for me. Maybe other people think this is fun, but I'm not a drugs girl. I don't like pain meds. I don't like anything like that. It just doesn't make me feel good. But what I've been told is that if you do have ADHD, it does the opposite things for you. So whether you have it or whether you don't, it reacts opposite for you.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's necessarily true. But I think that the negative of it is not terrible. I'm sure it's addicting. I have no doubt that it is. If you get used to having something to help you focus,
sure,
it's going to be like that. But I could hyper focus if I did it. And I know a lot of people would do that when they were like studying for a college exam.
Yeah.
They'd just take an Adderall or a half an Adderall and just like lock out, and they could study for hours and hours and hours and hours.
Yeah. Like it was a silver bullet. That's great I remember hearing that story. I remember people being like, oh, just take one of these and you'll ace the test.
Yeah.
But I would take one and, alphabetize my, like
your CDs.
like I would totally alphabetize my CDs.
I totally had mine.
Or make sure that like the liner notes were in the same, like that's what I would hyper focus on. It was still never, it was never the right thing. So I have, some real reservations about this. Yeah. None of the side effects that they list are good for me.
Sure. Well, and that's just medications in general. I have had people say, like, if you try a medication and it isn't a fit, then just try a different one. Like, be honest with your doctor right away and tell them, like, no, this is what's happening to me. I can't. And they'll switch you, because I think there are several different good ones out there. So I don't know. I also get it because nobody wants to take a pill every day for the rest of their life. Well, I shouldn't say nobody. I think there's a lot of people that want to take a pill every day for the rest of their life. I'm going to guess you're not that guy.
I already have to do that for a few other things. So you may like, what's one more, added to the pile, but, yeah. And then I don't know how those conflict either. So we've talked about how hard it is to change.
Yeah.
So when you get on a medication, especially a strong one, then you go tell your doctor that's not the right one. Now you've got to wean yourself off of that, maybe start something else. I mean, I am prone to seizures. So like if that's conflicts, then that's like, I can't take anything that conflicts with my seizure medication. So it just is like so much to deal with.
Yeah. I would definitely want to have an expert that like knew both of those conditions together and knew how to treat that, because that is something that could go haywire.
Yeah. So that's why I've been resistant, even though I'm sure it could help me.
That's fair.
Like, there's a lot of, things that, maybe I could do it. Maybe I can figure this out on my own. Maybe I can set up enough things. Maybe I can, I can not mess. Yeah, there's a lot. It's a lot.
And that is the entrepreneur struggle in general. I think we want to do it ourselves. It's hard for us to ask for help. It is a learned thing once we figure out what we are best at. And to me, that is the definition of success, is being able to only focus on the things that I am best at and let somebody else on my team do the rest of it. That is what success looks like for me. And I think probably it is for most businesses. Does that ring for you?
Yeah. I mean, I think you read all the books about how we started this business and this, and you've got to delegate.
Yeah.
That's always just such a, to learn how to do that. But then there's that entrepreneurial ego thing. Hi, buddy.
Yeah, Rosie, if you're not watching on YouTube, Rosie knows that it's time for her dinner in 1 minute, and she is now she is ready for us to be done.
So there is like that entrepreneurial pride, but I mean, I'm getting to the point where I've tried and failed at enough things where I'm like, you're gonna get over it.
Yeah,
hire people to help you, delegate some things. If you can't do it, don't sit there and waste. You don't have enough time.
Yeah. Don't
have enough time to waste doing on the wrong thing or the thing you're not great at.
Yeah. Well, I think kind of to put a bow on this towards the end here, I found a quote that said, "The world has enough people who are good at following the rules. It tends to change because of people who couldn't stop themselves from breaking the rules." And I think that fits in really well with this topic. And I'm not saying like you're completely breaking the rules, you're breaking the law, you're completely going against. It's just thinking about how do we do something different than the way it's always been done. And I just think certain people's brains work on a different level, and I think ADHD is part of it, and I think autism is kind of on that same I guess spectrum, for lack of a better word. I've got two brothers that are on the spectrum, one of which is also ADHD, and he actually is, well, he was also a meth head for a while, and so he it kind of fried his brain in all kinds of ways, and so he lives at home. But I have another brother who has a PhD in mechanical engineering and is like an absolute super genius, and he's like in charge of the national safety standards for your car, but yet he doesn't wear his own seatbelt. Like it's just the way his brain works. Like he can focus in on things like that and be amazing around it, but like not a lot of social context. When he lived in Dallas with my sister, he was supposed to drop his daughter off to babysit for my sister to babysit. Didn't show up, didn't answer his phone. My sister thinks they're dead in a ditch. He finally shows up, drops the daughter off, and she's got like no bottle, no diapers, no nothing. But he brought my sister a load of laundry to do for him. Like, it's amazing she didn't murder him right then and there.
Right.
But so it's just different minds that we have different places for people.
Absolutely. No, I mean, there's always, I don't want to say outliers, but I mean, like it's differentiators and to have like a wide, again, spectrum of people, to bounce ideas and to have different things. I mean, that is like one of the roots of success. Like you mentioned Richard Branson earlier. But there's a book called A Beautiful Constraint, and the whole book is how businesses started when they couldn't have done it the normal, natural, historical way. And it was the great story about Southwest Airlines. And they were like, we've got to fly to 4 places, but they bought 4 planes. They had to fly to 4 places. One of the planes broke down, was never going to get fixed. So how do we do 3 planes to 4 places? They had to figure out how to reload their passengers in a way that no other airplanes were, no assigned seating, everybody get going. Yep. They had to do things that made that possible. And that took ADHD brains, that took autistic brains, that took engineers and different kinds of problem solving to all sitting in a room to solve that, to get out of that constraint. And I think that's the beauty of all of us having a little bit different personalities and being wired just a little bit different. Yeah, exactly. And like you said earlier, having those different personalities on your team, I think can make a big difference. So as we kind of wrap up here, if you could go back and tell your younger self one thing about how you're wired, what would it be? I think I would just tell myself to be less hard on myself. Yeah. And not compare like my friends that could study and could focus and could get their papers done in advance. And I'd probably tell my mom, like, hey, I'm not going to do this like they are. So maybe, don't try and get me to do things like them. Like I'm going to work on this through my own ways and paths. I would just tell myself to be kinder to myself. I love that. I think all of us could use that lesson. There's probably not many people out there, no matter what age you are, that we can stand to be a little bit kinder to ourselves and give a little bit of grace. So awesome. I think it's been a great conversation. If people want to connect with you, what is the best way for them to do that? Yeah, my website is doyouhaveapulse.com. My Instagram is pulsemktg. And those are the easiest ways to just send me a message and let's chat about ADHD or promotional products or custom shirts or whatever you want to talk. You want to talk about anything? That's another part of my ADHD. I will talk to you about anything you want to, happily. I love that. Well, definitely connect with Adam. And again, if you did not see the last episode, go back and check that one out as well. And if this has been helpful for you, please share it with friends. That is the whole goal of this podcast, is to be able to share basically things we didn't learn in school, things maybe our parents didn't teach us, and so that we can all be a little bit nicer to ourselves. So please like, share, subscribe, and here's to empowering each other one story at a time.